If you're shooting on an APS-C Sony body, do you actually need more than the Sigma 17-40mm f1.8? Because on paper it sounds absurd. One lens that replaces your wide prime, your standard zoom, and even does product close-ups. But the spec sheet is just the beginning. The reality comes down to how it actually works in practice. I've had the lens for just over a week and bought it with the intention of replacing my Sigma 60mm f1.4 for my 16:9 A and B roll shots. That's the intention anyway. I am primarily looking at Sigma 17-40mm f1.8 on the FX30 for video indoors, with some side tests on the ZV-E10 for photos. I'll also put it up against Sigma 16mm and Sony's kit 16-50, because those are the lenses I actually own and have been using so far. By the end of this, you should have a good idea if this one lens can genuinely carry your APS-C setup indoors for A-roll, B-roll, and portraits, or if it's more hype than reality. This is the obvious starting point. At 17mm, you're wide but not distorted, and as you zoom in towards 40, the framing tightens nicely without feeling claustrophobic. On the FX30, it's basically a prime set in a single lens. Wide open at f1.8, sharpness is already very strong in the center. You don't need to stop down for your face to look crisp. Corners clean up a little by f2.8, but realistically, for YouTube talking heads, nobody cares about the edge detail behind my acoustic panels. I don't have any, but if you had any, then nobody would care. What matters is, does your subject look good? Now, I can't do much about my mirror-shattering aging mug, but at least the quality looks good. Sigma claims fast, silent autofocus, and yeah, it lives up to that. Tracking is sticky and it doesn't hunt all over the place. The only time it trips up is if you smash a crash zoom from like 17 to 40 in like one go, which shouldn't ever really happen anyway. But if you did, that's where it falters. Even then, it only wobbles briefly before snapping back though. If you zoom at a normal pace, it's smooth, as you'd expect. Compared to Sigma 60mm f1.4, autofocus feels more confident here, especially when switching between subjects, but honestly, you really have to look for it. Breathing is low at the long end and a little more visible at 17mm, but it's not really distracting, at least not from my point of view. The bigger question is parfocality. Does it hold focus when you zoom? Now, technically, no, it's not parfocal, and focus does shift when you zoom. Though in many cases, the shift is small enough that for casual video, such as a YouTube video like this one, it won't ruin the shot. But you can zoom during a take and not have your subject drift into a blur. Here's the catch. Like the 16mm I was using before this lens has no optical stabilization. On the FX30 you've got in-body image stabilization, or IBIS for short, and active mode, which do a decent job. But if you're walking handheld, you'll still get micro jitters. Compare that to the kit 16-50, where optical steady shot, or OSS for short, I know it sounds unnatural to keep saying this, but I remember when I didn't know these terms and people were just using the acronyms. But again, OSS actually looks a bit smoother. If you shoot mostly static or tripod stuff, as is the case for me, it doesn't really matter. If you rely on handheld vlogging, you'd probably need to think twice though.
Now this is straight up ridiculous, and I have to hold my hand away even further now. So like this is the lens we're looking at, right? The Sigma 17-40mm. This is super heavy, and it's because the lens is protruding so much. It's like, it really puts a strain on your wrist. And if you only have your wrist to support this, that's why I also have the thing tied around my wrist, because I'm scared of actually dropping this. But yeah, this is not a thing. This is not an option.
Personally, indoors it's fine. Outdoors, for video and vlogging in particular, I'd still prefer Sony's kit lens, to be honest. I know people keep memeing on that lens, but the physical body is short. And the OSS is fantastic when you're out and about during the day. Granted, not too great when it's darker outside, but the whole point is, this lens seems less than ideal for walk and talk. At 40mm near minimum focus, this thing is sneaky good. You can get tight on a controller, a coffee mug, whatever. Not macro prime, but enough for great B-roll inserts in my workflow. I have been using it constantly for desk shots because you don't need to switch lenses. Against Sigma 16, the obvious difference is that extra third of a stop. Honestly, it's not night and day. You lose a sliver of background blur, but the flexibility of zooming outweighs it by far. Versus the kit lens at 24 or 35mm, it's not even a contest anymore. f1.8 versus f4 indoors, One looks cinematic, the other looks like a webcam. The kit lens only wins on stabilization, and that's it. Now, I'm not hating on it. I still think it does tremendously outside while you're moving around. On the ZV-E10, portraits at 40mm f1.8 are genuinely nice. Clean, punchy, enough separation to not look like a phone shot. Then you stop down to f2.8 and you gain sharpness at the edges without killing the background blur. Same with product stills, it's practical and sharp. You really do not need to overthink it. If you've got questions about the lens, or if you want me to run another test with it, drop those in the comments. I could definitely do a few more YouTube shorts to run those tests. Like, I'm always open for that. And if you don't have anything specific to say, do feel free to leave some camera-related emojis down below, so I know you've made it all the way to the end of this video. A like and subscribe are always welcome as well, of course, but that's it, so see you next time. Bye bye.